Hi there, Stephen here, back again with another video, and in this video it's an interview that I did with Radio WM in Birmingham mailbox, and pretty much it was based off the back of the BBC Millions Today interview that I did. So if you haven't seen that video, please check that one out after this video. So yeah, pretty much off the back of the BBC Millions Today interview, I was contacted to go to their studios and obviously have like a radio interview. So I went there and pretty much there was no preparation, got thrown in there, and then they just asked me the questions. So I didn't know what they was gonna ask me, but it was a fun interview though, and I liked the whole set. There was some good interaction and stuff. So yeah, just gonna get into it. Hope you enjoyed the video, hope you enjoyed the listen. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
Now, independent children's author and illustrator Stephen Bryant from Erdington joins us in the studio now. Were you as shocked by that statistic, Stephen, as we were?
Yes, definitely, because I just didn't feel that it was as prevalent as it was. Because the thing is, to be honest, once you go into the major stores, you can kind of see that there aren't really a lot of books portraying like black and ethnic minority characters. So to be honest, it wasn't that shocking, but I didn't think it was as low as it was.
So what do you think the reason is that there aren't more books with BAME characters? Is it the fact that there aren't that many writers, or that the writers aren't being picked up by publishers?
As far as I'm aware, I feel like as if it's the writers not being picked up, because from my experiences going to events and things and talking to there are a lot of independent authors and illustrators doing work and creating works with black and ethnic minority characters, but it's hard. It feels like it's hard to break into the industry, so to speak, in terms of getting picked up by the big publishers and getting wider distribution possibilities.
So have you seen any sort of improvement over the years?
I think there's a general improvement in terms of the independent scene, because again, once I've been to a lot of events and there's a lot of people pushing the movement in terms of getting more diverse books into schools and libraries and things like that, but it's still more of a independent thing, really, as far as I'm aware currently.
So when you were growing up then, and you're having your reading books, and you was it something that you noticed? You thought, well, there aren't any people in these books who look like me?
Probably not back when I was younger, but looking back, I feel like all the stories and things that I used to read, because I used to read a lot, but I still do now, but all the stories I used to read were more fairy tales, things like King Arthur and things like that. And it probably wasn't until I was maybe in year 5 or 6 when I got given a book called Captain Africa, and it was about superheroes, similar to typical Marvel superheroes, and it really resonated with me because obviously it was set in Egypt, and there's like heroes and stuff, and it was one of like my favorite books at the time. But it's probably only then that I realized that all the books that I've been reading and seeing, it's more monsters, dinosaurs, characters, animals, and not featuring black children. I think back then I didn't realize how important it was to me back then until that time.
Why do you think it's so important for children to see people that or to read about characters that are like them, and to be able to recognise characters as being similar to them?
Because it represents the diverse country that we live in, and obviously in terms of their backgrounds, their upbringings, their religions, they can see themselves represented in society, so they don't feel excluded. Because if you don't see yourselves when you're growing up, then you may feel that is the norm and that is just expected. So when you're older, well, I didn't see myself here, I didn't do this, so then I'm not socially accepted. But when you see yourself and you see, okay, I can do this and do that, and it just gives you a bit of self-esteem and identity that we are all included.
And I remember when the Harry Potter stage show, the cast was first announced, and it was announced that Hermione was going to be played by a black actor, and Jake, and there was a stink about it. There was a section of her readership that really weren't pleased, and she said at the time, she said, well, I never said that Hermione was a white character. Yeah. Were you surprised by that backlash? I know that I was.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised by that, because I said, from what she says, she didn't really specify whether she said she was a dark-haired girl, etc., etc. And I don't think it's a problem, but because I guess the movies and things, we already have a preconceived idea of what she looks like, and that's where the backlash came from. But it shouldn't be like that, really. We shouldn't be so specific in terms of gender and race, but I guess that's just naturally the society we're in terms of the exposure that black and ethnic minority characters and people get.
Well, hurrah for authors like you, Steve, and you've just handed me a couple of your books, and they look fantastic, and I'll pass them on to Daz if that's okay, who's got young children. But thank you for joining us this morning.
Oh no, thank you so much.
Santana's World, it's a series, isn't it? So yes, I should certainly be taking them out, and that'll be our bedtime reading tonight.